Surah 48. Al-Fath. Context. Period of revelation. Hadith concur that it was sent down in Zul-Qa'dah 6 after Hijrah, at a time when the Prophet was on his return journey to Medina, after concluding the truce of Hudaybiyah with the disbelievers of Mecca. The historical background. The events in connection with which this surah was sent down began life like this. One day the Prophet saw in a dream that he had gone to Mecca with his companions and had performed the Umrah,
lesser pilgrimage,
there. Obviously, the Prophet's dream could not be a mere dream and fiction, for it is a kind of divine inspiration, as God himself has confirmed in verse 27 below, and said that he himself had shown that dream to his messenger. Therefore, it was not merely a dream but a divine inspiration which the Prophet had to obey and follow. Apparently, there was no possible way of acting on this inspiration. The disbelieving Quraysh had barred the Muslims from proceeding to the Kaaba for the past 6 years, and no Muslim had been allowed during that period to approach the Kaaba for the purpose of performing Hajj and Umrah. Therefore, it could not be expected that they would allow the Prophet to enter Mecca along with a party of his companions. If they had proceeded to Mecca in the pilgrim garments, with the intention of performing Umrah, along with their arms, this would have provoked the enemy to war, and if they had proceeded unarmed, this would have meant endangering his own as well as his companions' lives. Under conditions such as these, nobody could see and suggest how the divine inspiration could be acted upon. But the Prophet's position was different. It demanded that he should carry out whatever command his Lord gave fearlessly, and without any apprehension and doubt. Therefore, the Prophet informed his companions of his dream, and began to make preparations for the journey. Among the tribes living in the suburbs also he had the public announcement made that he was proceeding for Umrah, and the people could join him. Those who could only see the apparent conditions thought that he and his companions were going into the very jaws of death, and none of them, therefore, was inclined to accompany him in the expedition. But those who had true faith in God and his messenger were least bothered about the consequences. For them, this information was enough that it was a divine inspiration, and God's prophet had made up his mind to carry it into effect. After this, nothing could hinder them from accompanying the messenger of God. Thus, 1,400 of the companions became ready to follow him on this highly dangerous journey. This blessed caravan set off from Medina in the beginning of Zul-Qa'dah 6 after Hijrah. At Zul-Hulayfa, they entered the pilgrim's road with the intention of Umrah, took 70 camels with collars around their necks indicating that they were sacrificial animals, kept only a sword each in sheaths, which the pilgrims to the Kaaba were allowed to carry, according to the recognized custom of Arabia, but no other weapon. Thus, the caravan set out for the Kaaba,
the house of God,
at Mecca, chanting the prescribed slogan of
Labbaik, Allahumma labbaik. Refuse. I respond to you, O God, I respond to you. The nature of the relations between Mecca and Medina in those days was known too well to every Arab. Just the previous year, in Shawwal, 5 after Hijrah, the Quraysh, mustering the united strength of the Arab tribes, had invaded Medina, and the well-known Battle of the Trench had taken place. Therefore, when the Prophet along with such a large caravan set off for the home of his bloodthirsty enemy, the whole of Arabia looked up with amazement, and the people also noticed that the caravan was not going with the intention to fight, but was proceeding to the house of God in a forbidden month, in the pilgrim's clothing, carrying sacrificial animals, and was absolutely unarmed. The Quraysh were confounded at this bold step taken by the Prophet. Zul-Qa'dah was one of those forbidden months which had been held as sacred for pilgrimage in Arabia for centuries. Nobody had a right to interfere with a caravan which might be coming for Hajj or Umrah in the pilgrim's clothing in this month, so much so that even an enemy tribe could not hinder it from passing through its territory, according to the recognized law of the land. The Quraysh, therefore, were caught in a dilemma, for if they attacked this caravan from Medina and stopped it from entering Mecca, this would arouse a clamor of protest in the whole country, and all the Arab tribes would have the misgiving that the Quraysh had monopolized the Kaaba as exclusively their own, and every tribe would be involved in the mistrust that now it depended on the will of the Quraysh to allow or not to allow anyone to perform Hajj or Umrah in the future, and that they would stop any tribe with which they were angry from visiting the Kaaba, just as they had stopped the Medinan pilgrims. This they thought would be a grave mistake, which would cause the entire Arabia to revolt against them. But, on the other hand, if they allowed Muhammad and his large caravan to enter their city safely,